Hello everyone and welcome back to A Couple Books. This is Couple as per usual. Today we're going to be doing a unboxing. I have my boxes here from Amazon. That was not me, I promise. Okay, that was a chair. I'm like 100% sure that was a chair. But anyways, so I got a whole bunch of things from Amazon. Let's go through them. It's been a while since I got some books in. I picked up some books since we last spoke, but unfortunately I can't exactly remember which books I picked up since we last spoke without like going through each individual book. So we're just going to start fresh, and we are going to start with this nice unboxing slash book haul that we have going on here. Okay, so if we are ready, we're going to get started. I'm also in my comfy clothes today, so thank you. Nene, you're okay. We have a different doggy with us today, and her name is Nene. Nene. Okay, so this is the first package we have. Okay, that was easy. Alright, this is the first book we have, and it is Sufficiently Advanced Magic by Andrew Rowe. This, I do believe, is I heard about it first on Daniel Green's channel, who's a pretty big booktuber for those who do not know, and it is supposed to be a game lit, maybe possibly lit RPG book. I don't think it's lit RPG, I think pretty sure it's game lit. It is about these two brothers and this massive spire that like has monsters and traps and like ever-shifting rooms, kind of like a dungeon. It's basically a massive dungeon that they call the Spire, and one brother goes in there a few years ago, or a little bit ago, and he ends up getting lost in the Spire and never comes home. And so his other brother decides that he's going to go in after him, and at the top of the Spire there is a legend that you will be granted a boon of the goddess, who basically resides at the top of the tower. So we will see if the brothers are able to, if the old brother is able to save his younger brother, or whatever. Like, you guys know, okay? That's the book, okay? We're excited. Does that even make sense? Possibly not. The next book we have for you guys today is The Trapped Mind Project by Michel Chatfeild. This is for sure a lit RPG book. It is about a CEO, Austin Zane, who leaves his CEO position, and for retirement he basically wants to go into this virtual reality simulator because, you know, he's worked a hard life, you know, he wants to find a nice little tiny cabin in his basic virtual reality, and he wants to basically fish and live his last days on Earth in a virtual reality simulator, just like the rest of us. Unfortunately, he ends up finding out that maybe after all, Earth is a simulation, and the virtual reality game that he's residing in is actually the real world. Intriguing. I'm intrigued. Okay, moving on. Next, we have a box. Okay, why is the box easier to open than the little flimsy plastic package? I will never know. These are secrets that will never be uncovered by mankind. And within this box, we have World Tree by E.A. Hooper. This is a lit RPG book that I started reading on Kindle Unlimited, but I really enjoyed like the first few chapters, so I decided to pick it up physically because it's just easier for me to read physically, so I picked it up. And it is about this amazing game, virtual reality, MMORPG, massive multiplayer online role-playing game that is virtual. And this game comes online, and it's basically like the game, everyone's playing it, and so our main character, whose name is Vincent, decides to join on. He's an old gamer, you know, he used to play the typical games, and he's decided to try this one out, but unfortunately as soon as he enters the game goes into an update. Normally this just means that everyone gets kicked out of the game, or that the game is slow, or whatever. But in the case of this virtual reality, the game, as it updates, basically does a time dilation that causes 1 year for every 5 seconds. Wow. And the update is supposed to be like 30 or so minutes. So while the update is not that long, the time dilation makes it to last for over 300 years. So these players are in it for the long haul. I'm excited to see what happens. From what the little bit I've read, it is a very intriguing concept. I know it's kind of overdone, but I really do love the trapped in a game thing, so like I'm stoked. Okay, moving on. Next, we have a book I've already read before, but Ninetoes by Tim Andrew. This is one of the first lit RPG books I've ever read. It is lit RPG, but it basically revolves around a NPC character called Ninetoes, who is a wizard, but also happens to be a hobgoblin. And he basically wakes up and realizes that he's an NPC, gains sentience, and then he goes out there and becomes a wizard and just like rules the world. Not actually, I don't know if he rules the world yet. We haven't gone that far in the story. But as of the first book, which this is, we just learned about him learning about the dangers of the real world, realizing like what his role as an NPC was and what his new role could be as a actually sentient player within this Dungeons and Dragons style world. And he basically takes on some baddies, and it's a good time, and I really enjoyed it. And there's a really funny tiny, I think it's a squirrel, I'm pretty sure it's a squirrel. There's a squirrel pet in this that's absolutely adorable and so cute. Then we have, this is another book I've already read, but I read it on Kindle, or no, I audiobook this one. And so I wanted to actually get it physically, but A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is the first book in the Scholarman series. This book is actually basically like adult, I would not describe it as adult Harry Potter, because it's got Harry Potter aspects to it, and it's also got some dark fantasy aspects to it. But in essence, it's basically about kids, or these teenagers, who are magical to some degree, have some magical capabilities, and because magical people basically attract dangerous forces to them, the parents basically all band together and decide to send their kids to a school that's kind of not in the real world, and it's basically like in a in-between place, and they send them to this school where they're less likely to be attacked, but they can still be attacked, and basically it's survival of the fittest. There's no real like safety precautions except for what is like built into the school as a whole, but there are cracks in it, and some monsters are able to get in, and these students are basically teaching themselves how to learn to live and how to survive while they're also being attacked going to their lunchroom, or getting attacked during the middle of an exam, or walking down a scary hallway and getting attacked by a scary monster. So you have all these things going on in there. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of info dumping in it, if I remember, but I still nonetheless really enjoyed it. The second book has come out. I have not gotten it yet, even though I've ordered it, but this is the first book in that series by Naomi Novik. Once again, why is this so much easier to open than the tiny little flimsy plastic packages? I never know. Okay, this is the last box I have for you guys today, and we have in it The Woods Are Always Watching by Stephanie Perkins. This was a book I kind of picked up on a whim, but from what I remember, it is basically about two high school graduates who are about to go to college, and they know that this is probably the end for a while, and so they want to go on a camping trip together or go hiking or something along those lines, and so they go out into the woods together, but they're not alone in the woods. I think that's enough, and I'm sure you guys are intrigued just as I was intrigued when I read that. It sounds really good. So, The Woods Are Always Watching by Stephanie Perkins. I have Firebreak by Nicole Kornher-Stace. This was a Amazon recommended based off of my taste, and so I picked it up because it sounded really good. And in fact, I'm just going to read to you the synopsis because I think it does better justice than I could. Two corporations have replaced the U.S., splitting the country's remaining 45 states between them. Stillaxis Innovations and Greenleaf. There are 9 supercities within the continental U.S. The new Liberty City is the only territory fractured between the two megacorps, and thus in a perpetual state of civil war as the feeds broadcast the atrocities committed by each side. Here, Mallory streams Stillaxis wargame Sec Ops on Best Life, spending more time jacked in that world just to eke out a hard scrapple living from tips. A chance encounter with one of the game's rare super soldiers leads to a side job for Mal. Looking to link an actual missing girl to one of the Sec Ops characters, Mal's sudden burst of online fame rivals her deepening fear of what she's uncovering about Best Life's developers and puts her in the kind of danger that she's experienced only through her avatar. Alright, so I'm not 100% sure, but basically from what I've read and what I've gathered and what I've read on reviews, the US has been divided into 2 different entities that are basically run by corporations. These 2 entities are basically at somewhat of a civil war with each other, and basically this game player basically gets involved to a certain degree and ends up facing a lot of danger as her fame grows online from her streaming of her playing these games. We'll see what happens. I don't know much more about it than you guys do, to be honest with you, but I'm excited for this one. Okay, last one, people. This is called The Body Scout by Lincoln Michel. This looks really good. Look at that. That is a beautiful cover, and I had to pick it up because of it. This is another book that I don't know too much about, but is recommended to me. So I'm also going to read the inside flip because that's all I know what to do. How to do. English. In New York, wallowing in income inequality and yellow smog, Kobo has problems. He is an out-of-date cyborg with healthcare loan sharks banging down his door. He barely makes ends meet, scouting gene-edited talent for a big farmer-run baseball league, but with a new prospect on his radar, things might be finally looking up. Then his brother, Monsanto Mets slugger J.J. Zunz, is murdered at home plate. Determined to find the killer, Kobo plunges into a world of genetically modified CEOs, philosophical Neanderthals, and back-alley body modifications, only to find he's in a far bigger and more corrupted game than he could have imagined. This just sounded really intriguing to me. I don't know what about it sounded intriguing to me, but it was mostly the cover sold me. And I know we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but it was really nice looking, so it happened. But overall, I'm really stoked to pick up these new books. These are all of them, if I can get them in some kind of semblance of order. We have a nice mixture of sci-fi and lit RPG. At least I think we do, and I'm excited to get into all these. Unfortunately, we don't have any real mysteries in this one, but that's okay. We'll survive. So here we are. Those are all the books that I picked up, and I'm excited to get into them, and I'm excited to let you guys know what my thoughts are. If you guys have a particular opinion about which book I should be reading first, please do not hesitate to let me know down in the comments section. And with that, I'm just going to ask you guys to don't forget to like and comment down below while you're subscribing, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Bye now.